Good day and welcome to the WANA webinar series. As you will notice, all participants have been muted. If you have a question to ask, please send your question into the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen or by pressing the three-dot option on the bottom far right and selecting the Q&A option. Your questions will be answered after the presentation. If you have any technical issues, please send a private chat to the host, the directions of which you can find in the chat window. Thank you for joining. Please welcome Lee Kellogg from Clubhouse International.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nikki, for the introduction. We're really excited to host this webinar today, Reopening and Revitalizing. We're delighted to be joined by Clubhouse colleagues from 3 different clubhouses that are at varying stages of reopening after being physically closed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's webinar will be a roundtable discussion where we hope to explore the joys and challenges that clubhouses are encountering as we move into the next phases of reopening and coming back together in person again. We will leave time at the end for your comments and questions as well, so we can all get a broad sense of how clubhouses around the world are doing with your reopening processes as well. Our excellent panelists today include Cleo Figures and VanDyke from Sheldon House, Michigan, Kristian Vervik and Helene Molvig from Fountainhouse, Rygge, Norway, and Marlene, Mouttet and Elliott, Madison from Fountainhouse, New York. We will begin the discussion by letting each team introduce themselves and fill us in on some background about where they currently are in their own process of reopening. So let's start by having each team briefly describe their size and location, their current situation, and the major changes in their clubhouse between now and prior to the pandemic. So Sheldon House, would you be willing to go first for us today?
Sure. Yeah. So again, I'm VanDyke here with Cleo. A little bit about Sheldon House. We're located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Pretty urban setting. We pre-COVID had about 45 to 50 members a day attending. We have 2 units, active clubhouse with lots happening. And then COVID hit, and so we had been closed, like many clubhouses, physically since March, mid-March of 2020, and we're hopeful that we're going to open in the fall. And then Michigan was hit pretty hard with the second wave of COVID, and we ended up not actually opening in person for daily in-person clubhouse opportunities until just this past March. So not that long ago. We are just moving into phase 2. So phase 1 was just 10 members at a time. Just this week actually was our phase 2, and we are up to 20 members at a time and serving lunch again, which is probably what most are excited about. Yeah, so that's a little bit about who we are and where we've been and where we are.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Sheldon House. How about Fountainhouse, Rygge?
Hello, everyone. My name is Helene, and I'm the director at Fontenehuset Rygge in Norway, and I'm together with
Kristian, and I'm one of the first members at our clubhouse and also a full-time student.
Yes, we were established in 2016, so we just turned 5 years. We are located in a town, quite small town in Norway, about 50,000 people living nearby. And we were closed in the mid-March last year. At the clubhouse, we have 5 full-time staff and 2 project managers. We have about 150 members and a daily attendance about 20 members. We reopened in June 2020 with restrictions, and separated units. And in mid-January 2021, we had a huge water leak at the clubhouse, and we had to move to another building for 4 months. So we came back to the clubhouse in May, and we reopened in May, and we have been fully opened for all the members since mid-June.
Thank you. Okay, and Fountainhouse.
Hi, I'm Elliott Madison. I'm the executive director of Fountainhouse. We have 2 sites, the one that many know right off Times Square in Manhattan, and we also have a site in the Bronx. Both those closed in mid-March. New York was particularly badly hit by COVID. It was kind of the epicenter in the US for quite a number of months. Before we closed, we were averaging about 300 people coming in a day during those sites. It's quite large building, and when we closed, we moved to a fully virtual setting where we created a fairly comprehensive both digital and telephonic infrastructure to kind of support our members. We never closed for taking new members. We continued to take new members. We received, I think, about 250 new members since we closed. And I will let Marlene, my colleague, talk a little bit about where we are now with phase A. Marlene?
Looks like she might have had a network issue. Are you able to
Okay. Well, and this she gets back. So we started phase A about a month ago, which for us, that would be the first time that there was actual programming in the clubhouse. It was limited to 10 people per unit. So about 100 people total. And very limited in that they had to remain in their unit. They had to show either proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test. So we've been doing that for about a month. On Monday, we will start our general reopening on the 12th. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you, Elliott. So for the next question, maybe we'll start with Fountainhouse at Rygge. What have you found to be the biggest challenges or obstacle as your clubhouse works to get back towards normal?
Well, for us, it's been what we call the double crisis, that we both had the pandemic as everybody else, but at the same time, we had that huge water leak that forced us to move from the clubhouse to a larger building nearby. And it was really hard to run the clubhouse from another building where you don't have all the tasks and all the things that you used to utilize to run the clubhouse, because we had to move all the digital things and also the staff and members. So many members, they stayed at home because it was not safe and secure to be in a building. And that has been one of the biggest obstacles and challenging for us in that time. So the 4 months this year has been the worst. And at the same time, when we came back, it was really hard to get members to feel the meaning of the work, because all the tasks in the clubhouse were renovating tasks, because we had to establish a new clubhouse in a way. But for some members, that was a great opportunity to be re-establishing a clubhouse, to make decisions of where to put the whiteboards, where to have the furniture, what kind of furniture. So both a challenge and at the same time a huge opportunity Yes, do you want to add something?
Yeah. As Helene mentioned, we had to go to a different location. But at the same time, we also managed to keep our supported education program running. For all the people that is taking classes, we actually have retired teachers that actually come to our clubhouse to educate on one-to-one education with students that may be taking up a class, started school, that has a problem with maybe a class. So it was nice that that still was still managing very nicely and has done it all through the process.
Yes, and it would also been challenging to keep in touch with members that were non-digital. That was really hard in the beginning, and it became easier later on. But we have lost some members because there are non-digital members. And that was also a kind of a double crisis when we had to move to another building where we didn't have the digitals to use. So I think that's been our the biggest challenge and the biggest obstacles, and in a way also how to facilitate for peer-to-peer support in the same time. That has been difficult for us.
All right, thank you for sharing. Sheldon House, same question. What have you found to be the biggest obstacle or challenge as you're working to get back?
One of our main obstacle/challenge is the managing limited attendance for the members, and also for them to call in advance to sign up, because some came, you know, when they first heard that we was opening back up, they didn't think about it and just came to the club somewhat unannounced. And but sometimes it was a lot of times we had slots to accommodate them, but sometimes we had to turn people away because we was at full capacity of 10. And you know, some was hesitant to come because of the fear or contracting something, and sometimes change is not so good for some members, you know. And but one thing that we thought was going to be an obstacle was a blessing, which the sanitation of, you know, cleaning up after yourself and everybody, you know, it was mind-boggling to me. Well, it blew my mind to see how everybody came and you know, we was able to be, I would say, a chameleon. And everybody stepped up, and, you know, we have sanitation bottles at every table, and every time somebody got up, it was like second nature, and they grab it and wipe their surface down. And yeah, and my whole thing, I just didn't want our grand opening to be a grand closing. And, you know, we are off to phase 2, and I'm very excited to cook for the club because I'm part of the culinary unit and I love to cook. So
Thank you, Cleo. Tara, did you have anything to add for Sheldon House, or?
Yeah, I think that hesitation and returning, we're still trying to figure out some of those pieces, kind of what is maybe holding folks back. We were so we've been doing some things around making sure that we're keeping folks up to date. We recently did a frequently asked questions kind of mailing to everybody, because I think once folks come and they realize, oh, this doesn't feel that different, but just kind of returning and knowing that this, you know, all the planning that went into place to make sure that it's safe and that we're yeah, that we're doing what's in the best interest of our community. And it still feels like Clubhouse because there's lots of work happening, a little bit different work than we were doing pre-COVID, because yeah, things are a little different with our numbers and kind of what we're doing, but just really trying to reassure folks that it's safe to come back. And I know Cleo and I talked a bit about just getting used to wearing a mask out at the clubhouse or at the calling ahead, and just some of those things, that those safety guidelines, certainly, although keeping everyone safe is different. And so how to balancing that definitely has been a challenge. And I think just, you know, after a year of something, that's a long time to not be at Clubhouse. And so just changing patterns and habits and feeling comfortable getting out and coming to the Clubhouse again, it's just taken some time. So I would say, yeah, those are some of our challenges.
Thank you, Tara. And it looks like we have Marlene back. So Marlene and Elliott, the same question is, what have you found to be the biggest challenge for your Clubhouse as you work towards getting back to normal?
I'll say it's been, people also have to sign up ahead of time, getting them to do the health check ahead of time, making sure that we have no more than 10 people per unit, you know, making sure they don't intermix with the others, because they have that tendency to want to go hang out with the friends when they see from another unit, and they can't do that. Pretty much things have been rolling out pretty well. I mean, we're really pleased with how things are going. Getting ready for the big reopening on July 12th, which is like really around the corner. So we're excited about that.
Excellent. Thanks. Anything to add, Elliott?
No, I think that's it. I mean, just to echo what some other people said, I mean, being closed for, you know, 14, 15 months is difficult. I don't think clubhouses should expect when they finally reopen, even fully reopen, they're going to have to go through a period of rebuilding that community. I mean, that's part of our theory, right? Part of the theory is how important Clubhouse is for maintaining one's recovery, for feeling that sense of community, for being motivated. And when you, even though we had the virtual and we had the telephonic, and we did in-person outdoor meetups, it's still not the same. So when you drag that out over 15 months, I think, you know, it's reopening, and for us, it's going to be rebuilding. We're fully expecting to have to really rebuild, really re-engage, and really, you know, try to reconnect folks that have had such a hard time over the past 15 months. And part of that is we've redesigned our clubhouse. We took this as a reset moment. All the units kind of came in and rethought their space and got rid of old furniture. And we've decided that when people are coming back, it will be familiar, but it will also be kind of a fresh page, and use that time to paint and all of that, so that we can kind of start afresh and really kind of focus on rebuilding.
Thank you, Elliott. I think we'll stay with Fountainhouse first on this next question. You had mentioned about having several new members join during the pandemic, which is wonderful, and we've heard that other places around the world. However, this question is about members who may have lost connection to the Clubhouse during the pandemic. Have you had some of that? And I guess most importantly, if so, how are you trying to reconnect them back into the Clubhouse?
Well, certainly when we had to close our doors in mid-March, we lost connection with a number of members, because we found out, which isn't surprising, that over 50% of our membership either lacked digital skills or lacked access to computers and service. So immediately they were, even though we had built this virtual Clubhouse basically overnight, it was not possible for them to connect to it. So the first thing we did was we were able to build a partnership with a mobile phone company, and we were able to distribute about 300 a little bit more because we also had some devices laying around the house, but about 300 to 350 people we were able to connect with technology and service. And then we spent a lot of time working with them to connect them to the skills if they didn't have it. Some people just didn't have the tools, they had the skills, but actually there was a big digital divide in our community. So we spent a lot of time connecting people, creating systems to connect people. That being said, yes, people were still lost, or I don't know if they were lost so much as very limited ability to connect, get meaningful information. Maybe their phone number wasn't working or they didn't have a phone. So it was very, very difficult. And we spent a lot of time doing mailings and reach out, of course. But our big mode was really creating a very robust 7 days a week, 70 hours a week virtual community to try to keep that community spirit alive. But as I said, it was limited to a group of people. What would you say, Marlene?
Yeah, I would like to add that we have our biggest unit is home and garden. It's 200. It's like a fifth of our people, and a lot of them are not that interested in being, digitally connected. But we continue. Home and garden continued to have outdoor meetups even through the winter, and that was every Wednesday and Thursday, and we did stuff outside. So a lot of those folks came during that time, and like it's the only unit that throughout the whole winter, throughout the whole 15 months, they were meeting twice a week in person outside. So, with masks and, winter coats and, I mean, I have a Canadian mother, so I knew how to dress, but, some of them are like, oh my God, I'm freezing. So we had to, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you what you need to wear. But we did it through the, and it was great. So those people stayed connected. And now that we're reopening, some of the folks that didn't come are now coming. We made for home and garden, that's the priority. The people that weren't virtual or didn't come during the outdoor meetups, we're having them come in first. So we definitely bring those people back in. I would say those are our two most physical units, culinary and home and garden. And they're in those, often they pick those units because they're not interested in all digital, everything's become so digital and they're like, not interested. So, but they're coming back and we're really excited to have them back.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Marlene and Elliott. Let's go to Fountainhouse Rygge. I guess just wanted a quick check-in. Did you have members joining during the pandemic? And then back to the main question, if there were members who weren't connected during the pandemic, how are you kind of reaching back to them and getting them involved?
Yeah, we actually had a few new members during the pandemic. I would say actually a lot of younger members of the newer members are actually younger people. We currently have around 30% of our member base that's under the age of 30. So we was lucky enough that a lot of our members could also help older members to connect to the digital clubhouse we had to make. And it was and our staff was also really helpful, because they actually got a huge change to their job description. They didn't just only work from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. anymore. They even worked weekends, and we members was able to reach them if it was on Facebook Messenger or just a phone call. And they also did reach out every day. And just to keep up with the members, we also set up a Discord server for our Clubhouse. So we could actually have video chats with each other and actually see the people you're used to see at the clubhouse. And if you didn't have the equipment you needed, the clubhouse was actually borrowing members the equipment that they would need. So laptops, phones, and equipment like that. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, and we are part of the coalition in Norway, and they facilitated meetings for all the clubhouses in Norway. It was twice a month where we could share ideas for how to reconnect and to help members that we have that had lost connection to the clubhouse back again. So that was really good place to share ideas and get support to and new ideas to how to reconnect to members and stay to take care of the relation with the members that we may have lost and help them get back.
Thank you, Yoon. Thank you, Helena. Let's ask Sheldon House, same question. Did you have new members joining? And if you've had some members that haven't been as actively involved, what are your strategies towards helping them reconnect?
I can start off on that one. So we made really good plans for folks to join virtually. We kind of struggled with that. We had folks not comfortable joining that way, so we did not have very many members join during the virtual only clubhouse. Partly I feel like we were really hopeful that we were just around the corner from having an in-person reopening, and so we'd have folks say, you know, I'd rather wait, even with encouraging them to say, hey, this is what we're doing now, and this is what virtual clubhouse looks like. But once we opened in person again, we've had a lot of referrals coming in. I think folks kind of holding on to that, wanting to that in-person connection. So, we're not as successful with that. As far as connecting with folks that did lose connection with the clubhouse, I don't know, Cleo, do you want to start on that one? Kind of how do we reconnect with folks or try to make sure we were connecting with folks that we weren't seeing or talking to a whole lot?
Yeah, we came up with different strategies, like with we sent out and we did a lot of wellness checks to see how somebody are doing mentally, because it's not a handbook on how to handle what's going on right now. So we also wanted them to know that they are not alone, you know, despite what's going on. And we also did like member to member support, that some of the members that are closer to some and they have their primary number, they will reach out to them. And we also did like care packages that we will drop off to people in need, and like regular newsletter updates to keep people informed, the ones that's not tech savvy. And also we, you know, during the pandemic, we also established the lending library for the virtual clubhouse meetings. And, you know, some that don't have a phone, we also, I really don't know how this came about, but it was a good thing to do like a pen pal, you know, for some people that didn't have a phone. But, you know, who wouldn't want somebody to send them a letter to, you know, to just see, you know, check on their well-being, and basically, once again, to let them know they are not alone and, you know, what's going on right now.
Thank you, Cleo. Thank you, Tara. So the next question, we've heard from a number of clubhouses how challenging it has been to, you know, as they reopen, to get back to that really vital work order day. So this next question, I think we'll start with Fountainhouse Rygge. Do you have any helpful strategies or anything that you found that works really well for rebooting or revitalizing your work order day as you get reopen?
Yes, first want to say that we have built our clubhouse on what we call the 5 Ps. And that's the people, our place, the purpose we have, different kind of programs and partners. And during this period of time, we have added another P, projects, to the 5 Ps. So now we have 6. And that is because a project it has a start, it has some goals or objectives, and also something you need to reach some people, and it has an end. So to make a sense of urgency in the work of the day and what we do at the Clubhouse, we have been starting many projects, both inside the Clubhouse as well as outside, in our garden, and also in the larger community. And it makes more members we are giving the members more opportunities to be a part of the work of the day by being a part of different kind of projects. Yes.
Yeah, and this project has actually made members that was, I would say, lost even before the pandemic, has actually started to come back to join this project, like I would say our hen project is. We are actually starting a little egg farm at a local farm. And we are building a chicken coop and everything. So that project has actually gotten some old members back that wants to help and build actually the chicken coop. And also our newest project, that's more reach out to the community project. That's we call Fellowship on Wheels. That's it's a partner project with other organizations in our municipality, where our municipality has actually given us, all the organization, one car that we share through the week, and that so we can reach out to the community and actually also maybe find new members. As we like to say here in Norway, the Fountainhouse Clubhouses, that's Norway's biggest open secret. And I think that that new project will maybe help a little bit with reaching out to our community and helping more people actually find out about the Clubhouse community.
Yeah, and the water leak itself, it forced us to reboot and rethink, what are we doing, why are we doing it, and how can we do it, and how can we do it together, and how can we manage different tasks together in the work of the day. So it was a double crisis, but also a double opportunity to reboot the Clubhouse.
Thank you. Let's go to Fountainhouse and thinking about how the virtual work order day, how you're bringing that into the club. Like, what will it look? What components of that will you be bringing in to the in-person work order day, and how do you merge those two pieces?
I think that's a big open question. What we found out is, I think other people touched on it, is that people that had been disconnected from the Clubhouse reconnected in a very strong way with our community through the virtual. And even people that were connected before found a real value in this virtual community. So we will be continuing a hybrid approach. We have, obviously, during this most recent phase A reopening, we'll continue through general reopening, but our plan is to continue throughout, that this will just be another component of Fountainhouse, is the virtual Clubhouse. So Already they've been experimenting with having unit meetings in person during phase A that are also video, through Zoom or things like that. And there's talk, they're already doing some work group. Media and technology has actually done most of their work, even while they've been in person. They do most of their work working collaboratively through the virtual. So I don't think we know the answer yet. I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation in the next few months. We've certainly learned a lot about the virtual, and I think we've gotten pretty good at it. So now it's how do you create a hybrid? And specifically, our interest is how do you create access to the physical clubhouse, not creating necessarily a parallel experience, but how do you use the virtual to help people access the physical, and not lose their connection, or new members that may not be quite ready for all the stimuli and all the people, clubhouses have struggled, with retention. And this might be an easier way for certain members to engage in the clubhouse till they build up their strength to really engage more fully in the clubhouse. So we're very excited about that potential. And I think, the trick will always be how do you incorporate the work order day. Meetings are easy, but how do you incorporate some of the work into a hybrid? And certainly we've been experimenting with that. And certain work works better, and certain work doesn't. So we will be experimenting with that.
Thank you, Elliott. Sheldon House, do you want to? Are there ways that you organize your work order differently from things that you learned from connecting virtually and trying to organize work order day that way?
Yes, we scale back our work order tasks to meet new needs of smaller community size and assure tasks that are valuable and urgent to us. And we also use tools that were available both on site and off, like Google Docs, Canva, email, and Facebook. And we also dropped certain tasks off to members that was willing to work on them at home. And we also had a 10:30 work group in person and on site, because I will say it was like a blessing and a curse with the pandemic, because we had a really big facelift of Sheldon House that I don't know how it would have been possible if we would have still been opening and they was doing all the reconstruction of Sheldon House. So we had a lot of organizing and cleaning, and some people will, if they wanted to come in, they would call Tara or one of the limited staff members to actually come in and see the club, the new revamp of the club. So
yeah, it's kind of ironic, the similarities there, as far as it was a nice chance to make some of those decisions around kind of what the new space would look like, and thinking about the increased use of technology. It definitely pushed us a huge step as a clubhouse to use more technology, and looking at so some of the things, absolutely, I think we want to keep the hybrid option. I really like what you said, Elliott, around our goal is really that people do come to the clubhouse, and that this is a community that is best experienced and receives the most support when you're here in person, but that option to join remotely when needed, I think is really important to keep. So we have been having our unit meetings at the same time for our virtual joiners as well as in person. We definitely want to keep that. And I think that the tools we've been using in order to work in various locations are tools that we've really enjoyed getting to use and learning. And so I think we'll be keeping all of those things as well. Definitely helped us kind of think outside the box and get creative. And yeah, I definitely see us maintaining a lot of those new work methods long term. So.
I just also just say that the standards, there's two of them that kind of harken back to me, is the one without time limits. But as some of our membership got older, they just didn't have the mobility to get on the subway, come in, or they were in a hospital. They could still access us, and that really kind of came back to me as like, yeah, without time limits, only if you're physically able to get into the clubhouse, and this allowed an access, which I thought was good. And then the other standard about using the clubhouse as you wish and as you need, that the member uses the clubhouse in the way that's best for their recovery. And what we found is, for some, they said, I'm not feeling great today, but I still need that sense of community, but I just can't, get motivated, get out today, but I still would really benefit from that sense of community and having that virtual, I think. So I just think those two standards kind of help guide how we think about moving to hybrid, which is really not trying to create a parallel substitute system, but really an enhancement and trying to really live up to those standards.
Thank you. I think we'll do. I'll ask one more question, then we'll turn it over to see questions that people might have that have been joining us here today. So the last question from me will be can you describe the decision making? Like, there's lots of decisions going into how do we reopen if we have a limit of 20. How do those things work? And so interested in hearing. Maybe we'll start with Rygge again about. Can you describe a process of decision making that went into some of the reopening?
Yes, we did increase the number of policy meetings that we had at the clubhouse to once a week, both when we were closed and also when we had restrictions after we reopened. We also made a decision at the policy meeting to see the clubhouse as a whole, not split it into different units, so that everybody could be a part of the decision making for the clubhouse. Me as a director, I worked closely to the board of directors, and at the clubhouse, I worked really close to the members who are sitting at the board of directors. And we had a really close partnership with the head of health department unit in our municipalities, and they made the decisions of when to close, when to open, how many people could be in the clubhouse, due to the how many was affected by the pandemic or sick in our area. But the most important thing that we did, I think, was that we had the frequent policy meeting once a week, where everybody could be a part of the decision making, how to run the clubhouse during this period, and at the same time, the members and the staff got the information needed for our municipality and the local area.
Yeah, and I think one important decision we actually made for the members was actually keeping on with our social leisure program, but we were doing it virtually. So we actually had movie nights, video gaming nights, and then using the Discord server we actually made. So to keep the the social aspect of the clubhouse, even though we couldn't do it in person because of the restrictions we actually had. And that actually did so we had around the same attendance as we had before the pandemic at the actual in-house leisure programs. So we actually managed to keep that going for the members that maybe felt outside and was home. And say if you didn't have a Netflix account, another member would say, you can borrow mine. So everyone was there for each other and made sure no one felt outside of the clubhouse. Yeah.
Or the
Excellent.
decision making.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fountainhouse, can you describe how decisions were made and thinking about the reopening?
It was pretty complex. We did not get really any guidance from our city officials, and we had to make all the decisions ourselves. We created a weekly group that was called Reopening. It was the largest working group, largest work order day. We talked about work order day and the work. That was the work for a lot of people. We had up to 120 different staff and members participate. And we broke down into teams. And then there was a steering committee, which Marlene is part of, which was made up of different people from the different teams. We had a public health and data research team that was just reading all of this medical and scientific literature. We had a team on, sanitation and buildings. We ended up changing our HVAC system based on their recommendations. We had a team on, how to provide information about things like vaccines and safety precautions to the community, and they did PSAs and FAQs and presentations. We had all these different teams, and it was very interesting because for those of you who don't know, the CEO of Fountainhouse is an epidemiologist, a MD and a PhD who specializes in public health. And I would present to him what was coming out of this group, and he never challenged it, never had to say that was wrong. He would sometimes be like, hey, are you guys going to be looking into this, that, and the other thing? And he did give us some information and some great, but we created our own contact tracing system because the city system was failing us in that. So it really showed the resiliency, but also the resourcefulness of the members and the staff. Marlene, do you want to talk about your experiences on that group? Or?
Yeah, I was the contact tracer, so that was a very interesting position. People's reactions, unit leaders' reactions, like, you didn't call my folks fast enough. Oh, leave my folks alone. It's basically, so it was very interesting for me to be in that position. I was an executive assistant and a teacher for many years, and it was a very different experience and very interesting experience. And we're doing really well. Like, we haven't had any cases for the past few weeks. So I'm just really happy with the way things are going. And it's been a great system because, if we had relied on the city, we probably would have had widespread it would have spread throughout the house. Even with just little outdoor meetups, and, it would have been, I think, dangerous for our community. And I'm glad that that Fountainhouse had the smarts to create their own. Very pleased to be part of it, And
we have two kind of community-wide meetings a week. We have a Wednesday community meeting, which we always had in the house. And then we added a state of our clubhouse on Fridays, where we give we decided early on to give all the data. How many people, how many members were COVID positive, if any members had passed away, what the city's rates were, all of that, and then just had a general question and answer every week. We did it every week. And at first some people were like, oh, I don't know, should we do that? Is that going to scare people? Because things were pretty dicey here in New York in those first few weeks. But we decided that if we were going to make our own decisions, we needed to share all that information. It's a big part of decision making is transparency, and we tried to be as transparent. We were as transparent as we could be. And so to me, that is the silver lining. That's the great success, was this decision making and the decisions that came out of that decision making. I will always remember and be very impressed by.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Elliott. Sheldon House, can you share how you did decision making around reopening?
Yeah, also no clear answer, like this is the moment. Kind of relying on information and communication with both the Clubhouse Michigan community. We had a lot of support and information sharing with our coalition. We have a pretty amazing coalition of clubhouses here in Michigan, and had weekly calls for a good portion throughout the pandemic, and then regular calls up to current. And so just relying on information sharing and hearing from other clubhouses what that's looked like and how reopening in person can be organized. We do have an auspice, so we spent a lot of time as a clubhouse looking at what can those guidelines look like, what will it look like when we reopen, and so being able to, as a clubhouse, come up with a plan and then present it to the auspice and my supervisor and explaining this is kind of what we're looking at, and really helped for our auspice to trust in our readiness. And so we were able to advocate when we felt like it made sense, but also relying on their support and direction as well. Did get a lot of information from our county as well, but yeah, no right or wrong. This is the moment. It would have been a lot easier, but also I think, a lot of opportunity for decision making, member leadership. It was a really cool experience, I think, to figure that out together.
Thank you. I think, Nikki, do you have questions?
Sure. So anyone who would like to ask a question, please open the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. You can also click on the three-dot icon at the very bottom right to open your Q&A panel. I do have one. Now that most clubhouses are familiar with virtual meetings, are there any plans to connect with each other virtually?
Why don't we start with Sheldon House on that one?
Just for more reference, like meaning like clubhouse to clubhouse connections that you may not talk to often.
I think as a coalition, I know we've talked a lot about how do we make, we have a big state, and if you're up in the UP and compared to down at the southern Michigan, it's pretty hard to attend some of those coalition meetings and really stay connected. So I think that's definitely been something that we as a coalition plan to continue, is to make sure that those opportunities remain virtual for folks that can't travel. So yes, I would think that we'll maintain some of that.
Thank you. And certainly from what we've seen at Clubhouse International, there's been just a really impressive amount of dialogue and sharing and learning as we've gone through the pandemic. I think was a learning curve in some case on how to connect with Zoom and best ways to organize meetings, but we're seeing we're getting a lot of good information, and we're seeing a lot of coalitions getting stronger and sharing information. I know maybe Elliott, do you want to touch base on the Clubhouse New York and the efforts around the virtual Clubhouse community?
Yeah, I mean, we connect, I think, every other week with clubhouses from around the world, but that's just part of it. I mean, I think, the fact that we're here doing this webinar, that, Clubhouse International helped us really be able to, that information we talked about wasn't just numbers, but it was also what the other clubhouses were doing. And I felt that Clubhouse International was a great partner in that. And from, the webinar series started very early, but there were emails, there were all these different ways of sharing this. And we do it every week. I think definitely now that members and staff have gotten a taste of being able to connect with Rygge or connect with clubhouses in their own state. I think that will continue, and I think that will only make all of us stronger. Also, I think it's just also great work for the membership to make those connections. They find it very valuable and meaningful.
Other question for the panelists from the chat?
There is one. Just give me one moment. All right. Oh, we just got one that came in. All right. Has anyone opened up fully to date, or is all that still pending?
I think I can answer that. There were some, the answer is yes, and including there were some regions where clubhouses stayed open during the entire pandemic, sometimes with reduced numbers and certainly safety precautions. But we know of a few clubhouses that never closed their physical space.
Wonderful. We have some questions starting to come in now, so we're trying to filter.
Okay, I have another question for the panel, and I guess it's around the reach out process and practice. Have you discovered anything we saw so many efforts when Clubhouses closed to just enhance all kinds of reach out. Are there things that you learned during that you'll continue to carry forward? Maybe we can start with Fountainhouse Rygge on that one.
Yes, reach out has always been a dedicated task at our clubhouse, but even more dedicated in this period. And we saw it was really important to make phone calls, emails, and talk to the members. But we also, in the period, we saw that it was really important to get out of the clubhouse to meet members where they are, when they can come into the clubhouse. So that's one of the projects, the Fellowship of the Community on Wheels, that we go home to the members, meet them in the city, in the forest, go strolling together. So to make new ideas and new places to meet. That has been, so it's a kind of reach out has been wider in a way, not just phone calls and emails and regular reach outs, but we are doing reach out to the people and partners and the community and new places.
Yeah, and one thing we actually started with as many young people today, they don't use their phone to actually talk to people. If you call a young person today, they most likely won't answer you actually. So what we actually did decide on our clubhouse was one of our staff members actually got I would say a video game laptop, and actually are using video games as a form of reach out to our younger members, to reach them at where they are. So that's one thing I think we did that will change our way to reach out to the younger people in our community in a totally different way going forward.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add in our unit, in the home and garden unit, we have a lot of older folks, and we send actually like real cards, you know, like to your house, like snail mail. You know, we miss you, we're thinking of you, and you know, and we send it to everyone, the younger ones too, and they're like, oh wow, I haven't got a card like this since my aunt, since I was 3 years. I'm like, it was just kind of interesting to see. And they love it. And we did that every couple of months, you know, just a little card. We're thinking of you. We miss you. We hope to see each other soon. And, you know, just a little thing like that, we will just love to receive, you know, and that's just heartwarming. And they have their little collections now of our cards, you know.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we might have one more question, Nikki, do you have one more question?
Yep. Do we have any comments about balancing colleagues' anonymity and privacy and having clarity about how many have been vaccinated?
So kind of two questions.
Yep, and this will be our last question as well.
Who is there someone on our panel that wants to take that? Just throw it out there.
For us, we have done a lot of raising awareness and sharing information around the vaccine and promoting opportunities to get the vaccine, but have also tried to balance that with it's a choice that people make, and yeah, just trying that balance. So we have left that there's something if folks want, you know, if they happen to share it in a unit meeting, it's of course fine, but not something that we're asking, but certainly encouraging, promoting, and making as available as possible.
And Fountainhouse, I heard you mention that to come to the Clubhouse space, you have to have proof of vaccination or a negative test. Were there any pushback or concerns around that, or is that working well for you?
That's working well for us. We did a massive vaccination drive here at Fountainhouse. We actually partnered with a federally qualified health center, and they came and did vaccinations here. So when we did that starting in January for 8 months, so we vaccinated a lot of the membership.
Okay, well, I think we're up against time here, and so I want to really thank the panelists for the excellent, thoughtful responses you gave for this webinar. We really appreciate it. And then I'll turn it over to Nikki to close. We might be having technical issues.
It seems like Nikki has had some technical issues. So just everyone be aware that email will go out that will include the recording, and we thank you all for being here today, and we will see you in our next webinar. More details will announce shortly.
Thank you. Thank you, panel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.